What difference does it make? They want to turn off the machines. He's ready to.
Was she every night? Yeah.
No, forget. It's good. It's to wake us up. Why?
Was she the?
Computer thinks so. Yeah, they want to pull the plug.
They have 1 in 4 to pull the plug. Yeah, that's being counted.
Yeah, pro not.
And you hear what they said in the Hayden? She's not yet Jewish. She doesn't have a Jewish.
Why it's not Jewish?
Come on.
Unbelievable.
So there's a once in a head that a baby gets scanated from even before it's born.
Yeah.
Okay, we're up to quite exciting Gemaras today. Nun Zayin Amud Aleph, about 20 lines from the bottom, or about 25 from the top. I'm not sure which way is easier to count. And Moshe, what we're talking about? We're talking about the Kohen Gadol that's been working very, very hard on Kippur. As we said, he never went to bed, and he hasn't eaten, and he's got a lot of avodas to do. And by mistake, he mixes up. Either he doesn't know which cup is the cow, which was the he-goat, or he actually mixes the blood into one cup. Right. But it's very good to have a very clear picture of what he does in order that we can all go through many details of different scenarios. What? Oh, that is one solution. Shecht and start again. So let's go through very clear. So, what do you want to go through the whole Seder Yom? What we should do is every day some person should stand up, go through the whole Seder Yom of the Kohen Gadol, so we know it like as well as we know the rules of football. What does it say? That's in your fridge. Okay, let's go through it's very straightforward. In the morning, he starts off with his golden clothes and he does all the avodah of a normal day to day. That includes the Tamid, Ketuvas, the menorah, the cleaning of those places, all the normal avodas of every single day. Then he changes into white clothes. There it gets more complicated because then he starts doing quite a lot. First thing he does, anybody remember? Yeah, you're right. The Kiddush Steinberg ran twice when he changes clothes. Very good. But then after he's changed clothes into white clothes, right? What does he do the first thing when he's in white clothes? What's the first thing he does? No. The first does vidui on the cow. First vidui for him and his family. Then he does the lottery. Then he does vidui on the cow again. Then he shechts the cow, leaves the blood for somebody to stir. Then he takes the ketuvas and goes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He does a whole procedure there. Then he comes out, takes the blood and does 1 up, 7 down on Kodesh HaKadoshim of the cow. Then he goes out. He leaves the blood there on the stand. He goes out and shechts the he-goat. Does 1 up, 7 down on the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Then he does 1 up, 7 down of the cow, 1 up, 7 down of the he-goat and on the poiches, and then he mixes them or he does something to them but puts it on the mizbeach as well. So the Gemara says like this: "This alvuloi domim bedomim." The blood got mixed up. That means that's right, all in one clothes. No, not he hasn't yet changed clothes. He'll change clothes later. Now, the blood got mixed up. Here we're explaining that we're talking about a situation where what happened was the goat blood, the he-goat, and the cow got mixed into one bowl. Right, you've got 2 cups. And let's get 3 cups. We'll treat ourselves right. Here's the cup. It's got 1 cup which has got cow blood, another one which has got he-goat blood, and he mixes them into one. So what should he do? Now, I was very excited because Rashi says we're talking about that he hasn't yet done anything at all. He hasn't even done the 1 up, 7 down in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And I saw that Rashi was very disturbed. Oh, he hasn't shechted the goat. How is that even possible? Why I was very excited because the Tisha Shonim asks the question. And some people's Gemara is printed on Daf Nun Tes, and some people's Gemara is printed on Zayin. Depends how old your Gemara is, but most of them is Nun Tes. How is that even possible? What I was excited was usually I see the Tisha Shonim, and then I think that what a good question. Why didn't I think of it myself? This time I thought of the question, he asks it. So he says, which time were we talking about? Now, why did Rashi say that? Because he doesn't want to say you've already done the cow. Because then it's the next question. You've done the cow, and you've done. So he says you've done the cow 1 up, 7 down, 1 up, 7 down on the Kodesh HaKadoshim of the cow, and you've done 1 up, 7 down of the he-goat, and now they got mixed up into one bowl. So I was excited the fact that Rashi, Maisa, so the Tisha, they argue on Rashi. So either way, we're talking about before you've done the 1 up 7 down. Either you have the 1 up 7 down in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, or you haven't done 1 up 7 down in the Purichas. So what should you do? You do 1 up 7 down, and you've done it. Why? Why have you done it? Every drop of blood, well, up to, by me it's 1 dot, but it is about 20 lines from the bottom. Have you got it on Daf Nun Zayin Amud Aleph? No. You got it? You got the right Amud. And right, further down. Right, read the next few words. That's right. So Rabbi says you do 1 up 7 down of the 1 cup here. Can you imagine? I had 1 cup of cow blood, 1 of he-goat blood. I put it to 1 cup. I take from this cup. I do 1 up 7 down. I get myself a free pass, because if you think about it, if I want to mix them up, I would have to do 16. No, according to do go like Tosos, because they will argue with Rashi. You've already done 1 up 7 down inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim of each. So now all you've got is 1 up 7 down of the Pavoichas. So you're going to do 1 up 7 down of the cow, 1 up 7 down of the he-goat. And now you only have to do 1 cup. Why is 1 cup enough? Because it's together. And every drop has everything inside it. So if, and then if it's back anyway, mix them. So I say myself, so if you mix the 2 bloods together, do 1 up 7 down. That's what we wanted to say. And he's Yotze for both. They said this in front of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda lived where? Babylon, it's solid, but you know. There's a very simple way to remember. Usually, it's at 95% more, 90% more. Anybody called Rabbi lived in Eretz Yisrael. Anybody called Rav lived in Babylon. So Rabbi Yehuda lived in Eretz Yisrael. And he wasn't impressed. He said, you foolish Babylonians, because you live in a dark country, you say things which are dark. Babylon is a dark country because it's in a valley. Valley doesn't have much sunlight. He wasn't happy. I just mentioned it very briefly. I was happy to see the articles show a tiny bit of it. We'll actually go much more arichos. And now he's like this. The Rambam wrote a famous letter talking about the history of the Gemara. And he writes that in the days of Rabbi of Chisda, Rava and Abaya, there were terrible decrees in Babel, and nobody was able to learn properly. And only in the days of Rav Ashi did things calm down, and that's how Rav Ashi was the one who was able to write the Gemara, because till then it was too stressful. It's a fascinating thing, because the most common names in the whole Shas is Rabbi and Rav Yosef, sorry, it was Rabbi Yosef and Rava and Abaya. Even though they had the worst of times, and that's why Rabbi was so unimpressed, Lemaisa they mentioned most, which tells us the idea of the Chashakim, the Shivani, the Chazal tell us that when things are dark, you get an extra clarity. They say that a blind person knows how many steps there are in his house better than a person who can see. Why? Because he knows that it's very dark. He has to know, he has to be much more careful, so he has to count, he knows much better, he's more aware. And it's a fascinating thing, the Maisa. It shows you the power of the Torah, which is learned at the time when it's just more difficult. So the Maisa, he wasn't happy. Why wasn't he happy? You've got 1 cup of blood which has got a mixture of cow and he-goat, and you're going to do 1 up, 7 down. When you do the 1 up, according to Rava, what are you doing the 1 up for? Because he said it's for both, which meaning that you're doing the 1 up for the he-goat before you've done the down of the cow. How can you possibly do that? The Torah says first finish 1, then do the next. So it doesn't work. So what you do is you take the same cup, all the blood got mixed into it. You get 1 up, 7 down for the kavona for the cow, 1 up, 7 down for kavona for the son. Very good. Because you're doing the same blood. It's all, every drop of blood's got both. And you're doing it first for the sake of the cow, and then for the sake of the he-goat. That's fine, because you're not doing one before the other. Now, here what is on this. Here, no, because the fact that you've got extra doesn't, that's not. It goes in the kavanah. Here we talk about you already did 1 up of the cow, and then before you did 7 down of the cow, the blood got mixed up. Let's get it clear. You're standing by the poroichas. You're supposed to be doing 1 up, 7 down of the cow, 1 up, 7 down of the goat. You did 1 up of the cow, and then you mix the 2 cups of blood together. A Papa said in front of a Rava to say like this: do 7 down for the cows and for the soy. Again, let's get it very, very, very clear. You're supposed to 1 up, 7 down from each cup of blood, 1 from the cow blood and 1 from the he-goat blood. But what you did was you mixed the 2 together. But when did you mix the 2 together? After you did 1 up of the cow. Says the Gemara, what Papa wants to say, do 7 down for both, and then 1 up for the soy. So Rava said to me, I can see Dog wants to say, Adhashta, kolon tapshoi, till now they called us fools. Fahashta tapshoi to tapshoi. Now they'll say we're fools of fools. They teach us and we don't listen. Why? Let's not turn the page yet because I want to discuss this. If you've got 1 up, 7 down, you only did the 1 up, and you do the 7 down for both, and then the 1 up, you're definitely not going to be Yotza, because that is the most foolish of all, and therefore it is impossible to say such a thing. And it says the Gemara that it cannot be like that. Lemaisa, I just say a very interesting thing, interesting Gvor. We had previously a Gemara that discusses how do you count the 1 up, 7 down, which comes to 8 altogether. Do you remember how you count it? Right. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. The Gemara asks the question, why do you do it like that? The Gemara gave actually 2 answers. What were the 2 answers? Right, very good. One is they shouldn't get mixed up. And one is a special posuk v'hizor, which says it twice. It says v'hizor to tell you that you have to count separate. As says the Gemara, what's the nafkamina between the 2 answers? Somebody will do something. You didn't get confused, but you never counted. According to Madama, there's a mitzvah to count. You didn't count. According to Madama, that you didn't get confused. I didn't get confused. Marvelous. We pointed out at the time. I said it very, very quickly. I wanted to be aware of this. Is the Rambam Paskans l'kula. That means the Rambam Paskans. If you never counted and you got it right, you're okay. That means even though it's machlokes. And in fact, many of the shouldn't get very disturbed with the Rambam, because if you remember, it's machlokes of Rabbi Yomi and Rabbi, and Rabbi Yochanan is the one who's more machmir. And nevertheless, Rabbi Yochanan is the Rebbe of Rabbi, nevertheless, the Rambam is passed as the kula. Everybody asks, where did the Rambam get it from to pass the kula? Where did he get it from? Says the Gvor Savi, I have a proof from this Gemara. In this Gemara, the Papa suggested an answer which Rava rejected. Rava rejected it because you're doing it in the wrong order. But he never rejected it because of the problem of the counting. Now, if you think about it over here, it's impossible to do the counting. Why? If the previous Gemara, you can do the counting. Why? Because the previous Gemara, you got them mixed up before you did anything. So what you did was, you do 1 up, and then 7 down of the both, which the Gemara rejects as well. But you could, in theory, do 1 up, 7 down, and count 1 and 1 for the cow, 1 and 1 for the soy, etc. But here, you did 1 up, and then you mix them up. Now, how are you going to count? You can't count that this is 1 up for the soy, and then afterwards, because it's not possible, because you're doing 1 down for the soy. The counting is incorrect over here. And Rava never rejected this from the counting. This is where the Rambam got it from, that you don't actually have to count as long as you get it right. It's ancient swan. There are others who argue, but that's ancient swan. So again, let's get it clear. So Rava said to a Papa, what you're saying, it doesn't work. Top of Zainam with Beis. Elam Rava, no saying Sheva lemata l'shem pau. You do 7 for the sake of the cow. The chozer nisan achas lemala v'sheva lemata l'shem soy. You did 1 up for the cow, then you mixed up. Here you've got 3 cups of blood, right? 1 was the cow, 1 was the he-goat. You mix the 2 together. So then you've already done 1 up for the cow. So you do 7 down for the kavanah for the cow. Then you do 1 up, 7 down, kavanah for the soy. New question. This is a different case. Till now we talk about you had 1 cup of cow blood, 1 cup of he-goat blood, and you mix the 2 together by mistake. And what we said, so what do? You do it all. First time you do it for the kavanah for the cow, next time for the he-goat. Here we'll talk about you only have 2 cups. One's the cow blood, one's the he-goat blood. And you can't remember which is which. Can't remember which one's is which. Oh, brilliant.
And that, okay, I saw it.
You went to
I
look.
took a cup.
Right.
I took a little bit of
Lamb blood.
The lamb stomach.
Okay. Oh. In fact, this is what I quoted Shiur, this Medish, that Vashi says by Yosef that they dipped his blood, because is in, that you see that the blood, there's different colors of blood. There must be such a thing. So in fact, there's different There's different colors blood. So how can you get mixed up? Says the Meiri, we're talking about an old Kohen Gadol, and he can't see so well, and therefore he's unable. What? Colorblind. Colorblind. What? No, it's not a mum to be hard. As long as he can still see, it's interesting. More ask the Chacham, see, I don't understand. So you should go out to the Kodesh, go outside, ask another Kohen, please look and tell me which one's which. No. The Chacham says you can't make a hefsek. Chacham says you can't have a hefsek. It's a hefsek. That's what Rashi asks, though, as we ask, what's going on? What do you mean you can't make a hefsek? You're always allowed to make a hefsek. If it's a tzarech mitzvah, of course you're allowed to make a hefsek. So how can it be that they can't tell the difference? And he leaves it as a tzorich ion gadol. He doesn't know. But Maisa, that was the case. You've got 2 cups of blood, one of the cow blood, one of the he-goat blood, and he just cannot tell which one's which. Now, what should he do? Anybody wants to suggest an answer? What should he do? What's the halacha? Which one does he have to do first? So, what should he do? What?
Mix them and do it yourself.
Mix them. Oh, we're not allowed to mix them. First of you would guess. Okay, so it's a full answer. You've got A and B. You do first A, then B, then A. If A was the cow and B was the he-goat, brilliant. If A was the he-goat and B was the cow, so then A was no good because you did the he-goat first, but then you did the cow and then B and then eventually A. So that way, if you do it 3 times, you'll be fine. And that's what the Gemara says. You do it 3 times and you get mixed, and then you're okay. Says the Gemara, mixas domim, another shaila. So I think the 4th shaila we've had now. Mixas domim nisavuloi, mixas domim no nisavuloi. What happened was he had 1 cup of cow blood, 1 of the he-goat blood, and he was supposed to 1 up, 7 down of the cow, 1 up, 7 down of the he-goat, and instead he mixed some of the blood, not all of it. Till now we're talking about all the blood, and he poured some of it into one and some of it into the other, and now he's got a bit left here, a bit left there, and a mixture in there. What would you use? What would you use? Oh, very good. Use the separate ones. And that the Gemara says is obvious, use the separate ones, but I should use the mixture. The problem is, what are you going to do with this mixture? Now, here we have a very important issue to get very clear. It's, Mamish, this is something you should write on your fridge and on your walls. And that is like this. Whenever you've got leftover blood, there's one of 2 choices. It's either called Shiur Adam, which is always poured around the base of the Mizbeach. And we're going to have also later exactly where about on the base. That's called Shiur Adam. Say it every morning. Shiur Adam is Shivach Alesid Ma'avi. Shemizbeach HaChitzon. Every day we say you pour it out on the Soid Ma'avi Shemizbeach HaChitzon. You pour it out on the base, right? But there's also called Dam, which is Dochui. Blood, which is not Shiur Adam, which is rather blood which you purposely decided not to use. I'll give an example which more gives in a minute to just say it outside, sounds a bit easier outside. The halacha is that when you catch the blood of a normal chatos, how many times do you put it on the mizbeach? Anybody know? Normal chatos, how many times it goes on the mizbeach? 4, no, that's it. I'm sorry, it's 4. It's 4 times. 4 chatos is the 3rd Mishnah in Hebron. It goes on the 4 corners. So if I catch blood in a cup, I put it on 4 corners. What do I do with the leftover blood? Pour it on the base. Now what happens? Should say Yomi by chatos. Chatzos is say Yomi. We'll come to it in a minute. By chatzos apnimi is said ma'avi. Chatzos chitzeni is said Yomi. Okay. What happens if instead of catching the blood in 1 cup, I catch the blood in 4 cups, 4 different cups, and from each cup I put 1 on 1 on 1 on each corner. So again, it's the same halacha. It's called Shiur Adam, leftover blood. What will you do with it? Pour it, and you sit on mizbeach. Now, what happens if I catch the blood in 4 different cups, but I only use 1 cup for the sprinkling, and the other 3 cups I don't use at all? There, that's not Shiur Adam. Shiur Adam is you go to the Rebbe, get shiraim, so it's got a certain kedusha to it. But those 3, you can't call them shiraim. So what way is it shiraim?
Animal like a let's say a bottle of.
I hear. Meaning the shiraim from the animal. But when you take from the Rebbe, when you go to Chassid Shatish, what do? You don't take from the kitchen, even though it's all given for the Rebbe. You go first to the Rebbe's plate. No, that's a show. The Rebbe is the avodah. So that's the shaila over here. So all I point out, the Gemara is going to discuss it all in a minute very clearly, is that the such as Shiur Adam Dam Dochis. Now let's get it very clear again. The shaila over here. I had blood for the cow, blood for the he-goat. I was going to 1 up, 7 down on this one, 1 up, 7 down on this one. What I did was I mixed some of this into this cup, some of this into this cup, and as David pointed out correctly, I'm not going to use the mixed blood. That would be silly. Why should I? I've got blood in this cup. So I use this cup for the cow, this cup for the, he got fat. The question is, and the leftovers of this, what am I going to do with it? Pour it on the Yisroel of Mizbeach when I come out of the Beis Hamikdash. That's what I'll do with it. If I was a Kohen God, unfortunately I'm not. The question is, what will I do with this blood that's got a mixture? Do you say, wait a second, it's Shivayim? So I take that, pour it outside. And you say, it's not called Shivayim. What? It's ruined. It's ruined blood. If it's ruined blood, so you can't use it. That's the shaila of the Gemara over here. It's very straightforward. So the Gemara says like this. Mixas domim, we're up to 4 lines from the top, the last word of the line. Mixas domim, part of the blood. Nisal v'loy got mixed up. Or mixas domim loy nisal v'loy. And part of the blood never got mixed up. Pshita, that's obvious. Ki yoyev, when you put on the perichas, mivadoin yoyev, you'll use the one which is definite, meaning the blood which has not been mixed up. Miu. Hanich shivayim havu. That which has got mixed up, would you call it shivayim? Only yesod ozdi and the get poured in yesod. The duma dechuin havu. They are called pushed away, invalidated. For ozli le'amor, they go to the amor. Any blood which is invalidated goes to a special stream, which we talked about before, which flowed through, and that would sweep away all dirt. And this is invalidated blood, so you pour it into the amor. Says the Gemara. Now, regarding the case, the one case, we said 3 cases. One where you cut 1 cup of blood, 4 corners, everybody agrees that's shivayim. 4 cups of blood, and you use every one of the cups of blood for a different matana, everybody agrees it's shivayim. We talk about the one case which is the machlokas, where you pour the blood in 4 different cups, and you only used 1 cup for all 4. There's a machlokas tanoim. What do you do with the other 3 cups? One Tana says, like, I want to say that what? You want to say that it's called shivayim because at the end of the day it came from the cow. So what should you do with it? Pour it on the yesod. And another Tana says, no, we don't. It's not called shivayim. It's called blood which is dochi, invalidated, and you pour it into the amah. The Gemara now clears. The Gemara wants to see if we can contrast the blood of the bit which got mixed up and you couldn't use it to the blood of the 3 cups that were remaining which you never used. Says the Gemara, that if you use only 1 cup, the other cups are called leftovers and go to the yesod. What? There, the other 3 cups, if you would have wanted to use them, could you? Of course you could have. You chose to catch it in 4 cups and only use 1, but you could have used all 4 cups. But in this particular case, you're not going to use the mixture because you've got over here the non-mixture. Look, everybody agrees it is not shivayim. Everybody agrees it's invalidated blood. So in this particular case, where you've got part of it poured into this cup, part of this cup, and the rest I use for the 1 up, 7 down, according to our proper, what do I do with the mixture according to our proper? Sean, what do you do with the mixture? It's a hard question. But our proper, what does our proper hold? Imagine you go to Shemaim and you say to our proper, oh, you throw it into the ammo. Why? Our proper's logic is that this blood is totally invalidated because you could never have used it. It's not like other blood which could theoretically have been used. It can't be used at all. So, on the contrary, I disagree with you completely. I hold that it's definitely shivayim. Why? I feel that when you use 1 cup, the other cup is considered invalidated. There you had 4 cups, and you went on the mizbeach and you only used 1. What are you doing by only using 1? You are showing a rejection of the other 3 b'yadayim. That means you're physically rejecting the other 3 cups. It's an insult to those 3 cups. You're saying to those 3 cups, I don't want to. So therefore, since you're saying you don't want them, they're not shivayim, and therefore they go to the amah. But over here, the blood that got mixed up into this cup was not pushed away intentionally. You just couldn't use it. Why can't you use it? Because it's a mixture. So loy, it is not considered a rejection, and therefore it goes onto the yesod. It's interesting. This is slightly more complicated. I say it briefly. Those kap, not. The Rashi actually does not have the last 6 words in our Gemara. And if you look in Rashi says of lahai di yoiv minei. Rashi holds the same halacha, but from a different logic, that in this particular case, where you've got 3 cups, and you poured a bit here, poured into there, and now you've got to question what to do with this mixture, Rashi says you cannot compare it to the case of the 4 cups, where those cups never had anything on the mizbeach except for the one which you used. Here, this cup is a mixture of blood which came from cups which were being used, and therefore it is got the din of shivai. So you've got machlokes of Papa and of Yeshua. What happens to the mixture of blood? Does it go into the Yisod or does it go to the Amor? And now the Gemara brings the machlokes which we're discussing. Tanya. The Malawoima, the Torah is referring to 2 psukim. The Gemara is referring to 2 psukim, which discuss the korban chatos of a normal chatos, which is brought. It's the beginning of Vayikra. So it says the Malawoima ves domo yishboch. You should pour out the blood. It doesn't say kol domo, just domo. Or lemato ves kol domo yishboch. So why does one place all or not say? More explains, if you call the blood in all 4 cups, from each one a little bit, that's the call to tell you all of it. That is just Tanakama. Tanakama holds, in one pasuk it says kol domo, in one pasuk it doesn't say kol domo, in one pasuk it says all the blood, in one pasuk it doesn't say all the blood. We say like this. One pasuk is talking about a scenario where you used 4 cups and you used a little bit from each cup, therefore all the blood is poured into the Yisod. And one case is talking about when you only used 1 cup, so some of the blood is poured into the Yisod and the rest of it is not. If you gave all 4 cups from one of them, he holds like you. That which is left over on the neck of the animal goes to the animal. So like this, it's a summary. Any blood left over on the cow's neck, or anywhere like that, everybody agrees to the camels of Shimon. What do you do with it? Amor goes to the Amor. The blood which you use, any cup which part of it was used on the mizbeach, even if you use 4 cups, and from each cup you use a tiny bit on the mizbeach, everybody agrees that is shivayim that goes to Yisod. The machlokes is only in the case where you pour the blood in 4 cups, you use 1 cup. According to the camel, it goes to the Amor. According to the Shimon, it goes to the Yisod. And regarding the case of the power and the soul, where you mix them up, there we have machlokes of Hunan and Papa what to do. The Gemara carries on the halachas of the Mishnah, and later the Gemara comes more shilas about what to do in these cases. So Mishnah says, after you've done 32 sprinkling, right, 1 up, 7 down, 1 up, 7 down of the cow and of the he-goat towards the oven, then 1 up, 7 down. I was wondering, Yeshua, when you scrape your finger on the cup a very lot, eventually it gets painful. It's a metal cup. And every time he did it, he had to rub his hands. He's done what? That would be good because there's blood zvachim. They must have any mixture. Okay, that's why he had to wipe it out. So what happens is you do that, and then he has to then go with the blood of the cow and the soy and put it on his be'achazor. And here we're going to have quite a lot of halachas regarding which blood he uses. Does he mix them first? Does he not mix them first? And where exactly his be'achazor? It's all later as sukkahs. So Mishnah says, so it's non-command Omar Ma'avin Mekonis. Now first what you do is you mix them and then you put it on the corners. Let's just read the pasuk. The pasuk says, I'll read the whole pasuk. You should go out to the mizbeach which is in front of Hashem. Which mizbeach is in front of Hashem? Does anybody know? Mizbeach Hazov. So why does it say v'yotza? Where is he going out from? Where has he been sprinkling blood till now, by the way? He's been standing outside the Kodesh Kodashim by the curtain, in front of the curtain. And he's going out to which Mizbeach? Mizbeach Hazor, which is inside. How can you say v'yotza? Usually v'yotza means you're going out of a room. You're right. You're saying, but more asks it much later. Okay, nice, you're right. Okay, we'll come to it later. V'yotza goes out to Mizbeach Shlifnei Hashem. V'chipa olav, you should atone on it. V'lokach midama po umidama soy. You should take from the blood of the cow and dama soy. V'nosa kanis mizbeach soy. You should put it on the corners. So now, does that mean when it says midama po umidama soy that you should take the two together or separately? What would you say? That's the shaila of the Gemara. What do you say? It says v'lokach midama po umidama soy. V'nosa kanis mizbeach. Do you do it separately or together? That's the shaila of the Gemara. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yonasan, Chadam Ma'avin, Chadam Ma'avin. One says you do mix, one says you don't mix. So it's time to Rabbi Yosef Dama Ma'avin. The Amma Afgav Derech Siv Yachtov, Command Siv Yachtov Domi. This is a famous machlokas between Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yonasan. The Torah says like this: Ish asher yekale es aviv es imo. A person who curses his father and his mother, mois yumos, shall die. Concludes the pasuk, aviv imo kilel, his father and his mother he has cursed them over. The question is, what's the obvious question in this pasuk? What's the obvious question on the pasuk? No, why does it repeat itself? Again, Ish asher yekale es aviv es imo, mois yumos, aviv imo kilel. Why do you have to repeat yourself? It's a very obvious question. So the Gemara's got two malachim. One malach is to tell you that if you curse one without the other, you're chayim misa. The other man says, no, you don't need that, because whenever the Torah tells you two things without saying the word yachtov, it means together. What is the proof? The proof is, because it says, yachtov. Don't plow with an ox and a donkey together. Don't plow with an ox and a donkey together. Now, why does it need to say together? Just say, don't plow with an ox and a donkey. Is a proof that if the Torah wouldn't have said together, you would have understood you're not allowed to plow separately. So you see that you need the word yachtov to put together. So generally speaking, when the Torah says two items, we have a fundamental machlokas. Does it mean the two together, or does it mean separately? Here, when we read the pasuk, the Torah says, let's read the pasuk again. So we've got machlokas, does he mix the two or not? That should depend on the machlokas of Yisroel and Yomi. Regarding the halacha of cursing a parent, or regarding the halacha of Shiur v'chamoy, you should be aware that both by Shiur v'chamoy and by kilel aviv imoy, there's no halachic nafkamina there. Because since the pasuk repeats itself, we come to the conclusion if a person curses just one parent, or if a person plows only together because it says yachtov. The machlokas is only how to dash in the psukim, and it has other halachic ramifications, but nobody actually argues that a person would curse just the father and the mother b'chai misa. Okay. So the word says this time of Yeshua don't have to do yachtov, and the yachtov tummy. He holds if it doesn't say yachtov, it says yachtov tummy. So what's that? Feel to me of Yonasan. Shani achad. There's another pasuk. The pasuk says v'chipana kadosav achas b'shana. Once a year. Once a year teaches you that what? Only once and not twice. So therefore, that proves to you that you mix them two together. The chsiv achas tani delik shnun. We have a Beis, not like an answer, but look with them upon with them. So Shiur murovin divrei Rabbi Yosef. Yosef says they should be mixed. Top of them chesed mudalev. I've noticed an omer mazv if they ask me, mazv if they ask me, you do it separately. I want to do a bit more. We're going to have shorter times next week. Another cheshbonos. We're going to, well, anyway, as it is, we stop by 1:45 because of the mincha, and we only start 5 past. So it's we'll count a little bit till we're outside. It says it separately for the blood of the cow, blood of the soil. So you've got the drosha achas. Either it's going to tell you once from the power, and not once and not twice from the power, or achas to tell you that you do the two together. Tanya idach lokach with them we mix with each other. You might have thought that you should sprinkle. That's a Beis, that's like a Yosha that says that what? That without the word achas, you would have said you do it separately. And the Gemara says, because it says, only because it says the word achas, therefore it's like a Yosha. Again, let's get it clear. A Yosha is one who holds that without yachtov, so if it says yachtov, so it says, that means the fact that you need the word achas is to tell you, it's like a Yosha that holds that indeed you mix the two together. According to Rabbi Yonasan, you do it separately. Right? The Mishnah then continues. What you do is like this. You take the blood of the cow and you pour it into the soil. And then you take this and you pour it into there. We asked at the time of the Mishnah, why is that necessary? If you've got, very good, properly mixed. The Gemara's got a small havamina, and some of them shouldn't even hold this maskana. That the Mishnah doesn't mean, the Mishnah means like this, watch carefully. And you see, you pour the cow blood into the soy blood, and then you put this cup into this cup to make it easier. Again, the way I explained it, which is the way most of the maskana is, you pour one into this, and then you pour it into this to mix it. Alternatively, you pour it into this, and then you put it into this. Let's see the Mishnah, the words of the Mishnah. You take the cup which is full. Again, if you pour the cow into the soy, this one's now full. The Mishnah then says, put the full one into the empty one. There are two ways to understand how that means put the full one into the empty one. Two ways to understand it. One, pour it into the empty. That's one way of understanding. Another one is put the full one into the empty one like this. What would you gain? Let's see. The person puts one cup inside another. The kibbur bois adam catches the blood mouth. The halacha is the kohen gadol must not have a kohen, any kohen, not about after Yom Kippur, must never have a chatzitza. You're not allowed to have a chatzitza. It's very special halacha. You're not allowed to have a chatzitza. So, if, for example, do you remember we had a story of the kohen gadol that used to shecht with a glove, and what happened to him? Both hands got chopped off. He got the kohen. So you must have a chatzitza. Now, min b'min chatzitza in the chatzitza is a chatzitza or not? Or later they saw, got it from our Mishnah. You put the full one into the empty one, and he understood put the full one into the empty one. Not that you should pour the full one into the empty one, but rather place the cup of the full one into the empty one. And then he goes afterwards, and what does he do with it? Sprinkles onto the Mizbeach Hazov. So you see that it doesn't matter. That it's not a chatzitza. So he said to him, no. Lo, it doesn't mean that. It means you pause, you pour from the full into the empty one. If that's the case, you've already done it. You've already poured from one into the other. You've already poured from the cow into the goat. What in the world do you need to pour it again? Answers more like a few already said. No. The reason is if you only pour once, it won't be properly mixed. You pour once and then you pour it again. So there's two ways to understand how you do it. We'll come to it maybe more. Toshima. If you're standing on a vessel, if you stand on somebody's foot, Kohen stands on somebody else's Kohen's foot. Imagine Kohen Pesach, there are hundreds of thousands of Kohen. Everybody working at top speed. There's nowhere to stand. You stand on somebody's foot. Good or no good? No good. Possible. Now, what's the problem? If you say min b'mino, our shaila was if you put one cup into another, is it good or not? And what was the tzut started? Do we say min b'mino or not? So here we say it's a chatzitza. It says more shani vegad lemotzim avatale. The problem with the foot is that when you stand on somebody else's foot, he's not going to be thrilled with you. And at some stage, he's going to try and pull it away. So the whole time, it's something which is supposed to be taken away. You can't compare it to putting one ball into another, where it's meant, where you're leaving it there. Says of Yashua Brilliant Chab, anybody wants to suggest? I never thought of myself. No, it's a simpler one. What happens if you put one foot on top of the other? Of your own. Says of Yashua it should be okay. Why? Because somebody else's foot, it's not up to you to decide how long you're going to stand on his foot. But your own foot, you can stand it as long as you want. So on Yom Kippur, on the sun, your Pesach, or any time of the year, you're feeling a pain, you want to have one foot, another should be okay. Rashi cares about it. It doesn't pass him whether it's okay or not. It's got started that it should not be okay. So don't do it. What? Oh, because it's its own body. But there it's slightly different because there you need a kissu. Here it's got to do with the chatzitz and the socialities of the chatzitz. Should we just do a tiny bit more? Ikadam yachi boim and derech sheres bekach is a normal way to serve or derech sheres bekach. Toshma the top of the Yisroel is called klei hashoyes asher yisholsu ben bakodesh shnei kedim v'sheres achas. The pasuk starts off. It's called klei hashoyes asher yisholsu bom bakodesh. Yisholsu is lashon yochid. They shall serve. It's not they shall do many services. So therefore, klei hashoyes asher yisholsu that they will serve by Kodesh, and therefore it is a right it is okay. So it's not a problem to use two bowls, one inside the other. I'm going to stop over here. So therefore, that's not a problem. But you've got another shalom about it's very good. It's very good to keep track of all the different cheshbonos and halachas.
Well, it's not the same thing with a couple. It's supposed to be a chatzitza in a way.
It's supposed to be a chatzitza.